Coming up next on Duck TV Sports, men's basketball continues to struggle. Baseball season is just around the corner. Softball is in full swing, and the Ducks land the 27th ranked recruiting class heading into the gridiron next year. Hello everyone and welcome into Duck TV Sports alongside my panelists Adam Vaughn and Caitlin Deaney. I'm your host, Anthony Pignelli. Guys, tough weekend for Oregon basketball. Here's what Coach Dana Altman had to say about that heartbreaking loss versus Arizona State. This is agonizing, quote, Coach Altman said. We're 3-8 in the league. You are what your record says you are, and we're 3-8. We've been in every one of those games in the last 4 minutes, most of them down in the last possession, so it hurts. There's no secret there. The Ducks have not been coming up in the clutch as of late in the final few minutes of the games. Guys, what did you see over the weekend that really illustrates why they're not coming up clutch?
I think it has a lot to do with their composure. I mean, it tells the story of the last couple of minutes. They're losing these games by 2 or 3 or 4 points, and it has a lot to do with their shooting. They're missing free throws. They're not filling out the court. They're just kind of free-for-all shooting, and getting frantic at the end of games, they don't have time for that.
Well, I think as much as a heartbreak of this season has been and as much of a struggle as it's been, you have to take away some of the positives from the game. You look at the way the guards played against Arizona. They kept with them the whole way. Dominic Artis stepped up for once this season, had a good game, 10 points, 4 assists, but they can't seem to find that composure and poise in the end of games to just get the win. If they can close them out, they'll be fine.
Okay, looking forward, obviously this Pac-12 is a very strong conference, and they have to go down. They have to play the Arizona schools again, and the rest of their schedule doesn't get too much easier, really. Where do you envision the Ducks ending up sort of in the conference at the end of the year?
I don't think they can move up a lot higher if, like I said, if they don't get it together in the end. The execution really, it tells the story of their season. Like the quote, obviously the players are upset, the coach is upset, and without a boost of morale and a boost of confidence, they're not going to move up much higher.
Well, you look at these next 3 games, they're at home for the Ducks against Oregon State and the Washington schools. They have to find some momentum heading into the end of the season in the Pac-12 tournament. Hopefully they can get a win. Hopefully for them they can get a win. Otherwise, it's a lost season. It's a lost cause.
Again, not looking too bright for the Ducks for making the NCAA tournament. They would certainly need a strong finish to the regular season and then probably a Pac-12 tournament a championship just like last year to even be considered for the NCAA tournament. Moving on to baseball, guys. Cole Irvin, the freshman All-American from last year, out for the year with Tommy John surgery. Here's what his head coach, George Horton, had to say on him here. You never want to hear that. And I had a different, sick feeling in my stomach when that came to fruition. Mostly for Cole, Horton said. That'll weaken us a little bit, but it's an area of our ball club where we think we have a pretty good depth. Coach Horton really kind of right about that statement. Pitching has been a strength for the Ducks throughout his career as a coach here at the University of Oregon. That Horton ball really focusing on strong pitching and then kind of squeezing out tight games. Who do you see stepping up in place of Cole Irvin now that he's done for the year with Tommy John surgery?
Well, yeah, this injury really hurts the Ducks. But you look at their pitching staff as a whole, and they're very strong. You've got all Pac-12 from last year. Tommy Thorpe was all Pac-12, and you get the return of relief pitcher Jake Reed. They should be just fine, but this loss of Cole Irvin is really going to need the offense to step up and provide more run support for these other pitchers going forward in the season.
And Adam, you mentioned Jake Reed, last year's starter, now moved to the bullpen to provide more depth in the absence of guys like Jimmy Sherfy. So that'd be an interesting move to see how that plays out. Okay, on the offensive end of the ball, on the offensive side for the Ducks, Ryan Healy, he's gone. He was pretty much their entire offense last year, producing numerous categories, just an absolute stud for the Ducks offensively. How are they going to replace him?
I think the most important replacement will be with Kyle Garlick. I mean, he had a really good 2012 season. He tied for most home runs for a team record. Although he had a very hard injury last season, I think he can come back and he can be strong. He spent a lot of time watching and observing the Ducks. He knows what needs to be done. He knows the mental improvement. He knows the physical improvement. And I think if he comes back healthy and with a good mentality, he will be able to lead them to success.
Absolutely. They will rely heavily on guys like Garlick to really pick up the offensive slack that they lost last year. Well, Oregon Ducks picked second to finish in the Pac-12, only behind Oregon State for a preseason poll. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. A very tough conference in the Pac-12 for baseball. On to softball. We've got some quotes from the softball media day that really emphasize their outlook on the season. We'll go ahead and play that for you right now.
I mean, it's always going to be inside of us. It's going to burn a fire, so we're going to have to keep playing hard, and it's going to be used to push us forward, and we have to just make sure that will fuel us deeper in the season.
Exciting to be the first team at Oregon for softball to win a conference championship. It's definitely a feeling I want to have again, but I don't want us to. We have to get used to being on top, not being underdogs anymore. So if we go for that, I mean, that's our goal again, but we just have to remember that it doesn't stop there, Got to keep going through postseason, make it to the World Series. We're going for a national championship, so.
Last year, the Ducks relied heavily on senior All-American pitcher Jess Moore as their #1 pitcher. Sophomore Sheridan Hawkins, who combined with Moore last year for a deadly 1-2 punch, will be relied on heavily this year as the new #1 pitcher.
I just personally am myself. This year I haven't tried to be I would say I'm not trying to push to be a leader, but I definitely just continue to do what I normally do. But being a leader is something I definitely want to be. Well, obviously everybody expects you to do good, and I do feel some expectations, but during games, I'm not gonna worry about things like that. I'm gonna try and block that out and just give 100%. There's a target always that I feel a target on my back, and which is a good thing. And I definitely feel like something like that has caused me to work harder. So just use it for fuel, definitely.
Okay, guys, you heard the quotes right there. Let's start with Kroll Costa and Janie Takeda talking about really getting over that hump that they haven't been able to do so in the past few seasons of just advancing to the College World Series. Last year they lost in the Super Regionals in Game 3 to Nebraska. How do they really overcome those hardships early in their careers at the University of Oregon to kind of get over that hump for this next season?
Well, yeah, I think that they gained a lot of experience last year on missing out on the College World Series. And you look at this team, they have all the tools to meet those expectations and even go further than last year. But I think it comes down to that leadership. Like Janie Takeda said, the junior, she led the Ducks last year in batting average. She's got to come even stronger this year and provide on offense.
Absolutely, and once again, the Ducks off to a nice start so far, winning 4 of their 5 games this past weekend in a tournament. Takeda had a monster outing in those 5 games, hitting over 500. And as we look ahead towards the Sheridan Hawkins quote, she's going to have to play a vital role this year without Jess Moore. How do you guys envision her really stepping up? Do you think there's going to be a lot of pressure on her and she'll have a sophomore slump, or do you see her being even better than last year?
I think it's safe to say that she's more than capable to replace Jess Moore. Simply based off her play from last year, she struck out a team-high 212 opponents, which is 15 more than Jess Moore, and she pitched 60 innings less than her. So I think her biggest struggle will just be finding her confidence and finding her ability to lead the team. But in all, I think she'll be a great addition, and she'll be easily able to replace Jess Moore.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I think the Ducks will rely on her a lot, and as the new #1 pitcher, I don't see her. I see her producing very well and really replacing those shoes that Jess Moore had. One more thing, guys, we have to talk about signing day. It's come and gone again. As for the Ducks, they found themselves with a 27th overall recruiting class with only 1 5-star recruit. However, for more on the future of Oregon football, we sent it to Chris Brooklier.
As has been the case with Oregon's recent recruiting classes, they didn't get the glitziest or the most glamorous recruits, only landing 1 5-star recruit in Royce Freeman. But they did get guys with tremendous character, something that head coach Mark Helfrich pointed out.
I guess we'd like to talk about the biggest, fastest, great version of, the ideal person, the ideal character and attitude that those guys bring to the table, and he's moving that direction. He's a big physical dude, runs heavy, but then still has the skill set to run out of the backfield and catch the football, to be a great returner, and protect and do some of the things that our guys do.
Helfrich stressed that a big factor in this recruiting class was keeping guys like Marcus Mariota and Ifo Ekpreolumu, along with 8 coaches who could have left.
The proudest thing in all this for me, and I'm not a very proud guy outwardly, but to have, Marcus Mariota, Efo, and then about 8 coaches that could be in a lot of other places stay here, that means a ton for this place. And it can do nothing but help in recruiting.
As is the case every year, Oregon missed out on a big recruit, this year being 5-star recruit Juju Smith. But Helfrich says he's moved on and even joked he bets his wife wishes she married George Clooney, but she's moved on, so he will too. For Duck TV Sports, I'm Chris Brooklier.
Well, guys, it'll sure be interesting to see how those new recruits play a factor into next year's success on the gridiron. Do you think that a national championship will come to Eugene?
Well, they've got a tough schedule with Michigan State and Stanford at home, but if they can find a way to beat those teams, then it's definitely possible for the Ducks to bring home a national championship.
The Ducks will be hoping to hoist that crystal ball come next January. For Adam Vaughn and Kaylin Deaney, I'm your host, Anthony Piccinelli. Be sure to follow us online at our website and at Duck TV Sports on Twitter. Until next time.